If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Today's guest on the debrief then, he spent a bit of time in India, former member of the Parachute Regiment, but more famously probably known for being a member of the Chennai 6, and here to tell us all about it is Nick Dunn. How are you, buddy? All right?
Turn right, Old Newton Road.
I'm good, but thank you for coming down, mate. I know it's been a long old drive today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long drive, got a long drive back, but it's worth it.
Good, I hope so. Listen, today...
In and out of mischief, but I'd always be thankful of. If I got wrong, I got a clout across the lug or a smacked bum. But most importantly, I always had my eyes set on joining the army.
Why was that?
I think basically when you're a kid, you play armies and you see a stick and you'll just picture a stick and you'll the size of the stick dictates what kind of weapon it is. And like my childhood, I was always like down the woods making camps. I remember pinching my mum's makeup all the dark and then putting it on, camming myself up to play in my little sitting room. You know, I just liked the way the army was basically out there.
Did you do cadets or anything like that?
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't. And watching the good old Sunday movies with your dad, the good old black and white ones, and now and again.
Yeah, lots of World War II stuff. Yeah, weren't there? Loads of it, weren't there? So
it was always
at the end of the road,
steering me into that.
Did you get any of the comics, like the old Commando comics and what?
I didn't see them, but you know, you're the good old little paratroopers where you just flew it and you'd expect the parachute to
there he goes.
And my parachute never deployed.
As a malfunction.
It was always a malfunction, and I've had to landing and twist night jumps as well on me left. So that was probably.
You know how that little man feels.
I do, yes.
So school, were you any good at school?
Not really. I didn't.
No.
I didn't really enjoy school. I was. You could say wishing my life away, but I wanted to become older. I wanted to get out of school and join the army. I wanted that breath of fresh air. But when I look back at any time of my life, it's always at school. They're the times that you never lose. You always, you hated being at school, but it's always the time in your life you always look back on.
Yeah, you'll always, you won't forget it. And so you left school.
I left school. Didn't have the greatest of qualifications.
Did you go straight into the army? Did you go straight to the careers office?
I didn't. I went to college. I always had it in my mind that you can join at the age of 16, but you can't go on operations till you're 18. So I thought, well, I may as well just join at the age of 18. At least everything I know that can be thrown at me is as an adult. I don't want them to pussyfoot around with us being under that age bracket, which they probably do at Harrogate to an extent.
A38 towards
I wanted to go in
10 miles.
Right in the deep end.
Be operationally deployed from day one. You know,
exactly,
I don't want to sit in the stay behind. I want to be sort of like off the trot from day one.
Definitely 100%.
So you waited until you were 18, and did you pick the Parachute Regiment from day one? Is that where you wanted to go?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you know about the Parachute Regiment? You know,
just like I said, the war film, and I did a little bit of research. I had me heart set on trying to challenge myself, because I'm not the tallest of guys, so I always had that as growing up. Not getting bullied or anything. Just I wanted to be a bit taller, and I know that could never happen. So I want to try something that can push me, and I just did a bit of research. What's the best the army can provide? Parachute Regiment. Obviously, the careers office was always trying to sway me towards the Fusiliers with my local regiment and all that. But I don't think a feather duster looks good on my head.
So you weren't having that?
I wasn't having that. No,
you didn't want that.
I don't want that. The heckle or whatever it's called, heckle. But every time I looked on, books or anything history, and I saw like the parachute regiment, I was thinking, especially when you look back at World War II in particular,
Every Man an Emperor, all that sort of stuff.
And you look at Arnhem, which has obviously just recently happened if you go back in time.
Yeah.
And I looked at that, and you see the film The Bridge Too Far, it just bode well. It just put me in that.
So you were pretty much sort of
in that direction.
It was sold. It's interesting because I didn't really think about joining the army. I just went before I was directed to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they will direct you where they want you, won't they? Do you know
Yes,
what I mean?
definitely.
So that's it. And
definitely.
yeah, a bit of research might have been different for me. I did all my stuff subsequently when I got in, like, you know what I mean? And I was quite lucky. But I suppose if you as a young lad, if your mind was set on that, there was no talking you out of it, was it?
No. And the good thing about when I joined, it was, I remember, like I say, being in college when the invasion of Iraq. Obviously, I was in high school, and September 11th. We'll always remember that day, whatever happened in our lives, like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, it was when I was in college, and it was after the seeing it all on the news, crossing the border into Iraq and all that, and I was thinking, let's get me still going.
Yeah, I need a bit of that. I want some
of that. That was the gateway.
So you did depot at a time when the army was at war.
Yes.
So was there a lot of emphasis? We had Northern Ireland when I was in depot, but that was about as lucky as you were going to get. Like, you know what I mean? So you were joining, and you were thinking, right? Afghanistan kicked off when you was in depot.
Yeah.
So you had Afghan and Iraq going at the same time. So you're thinking, I'm definitely, when I come out of here, my trigger finger is going to be up and down like a lunatic.
And I went to Northern Ireland first.
Really?
There was like nearly six months of rain.
Really? So you did a quick Northern Ireland tour?
Yeah, we did a quick Northern Ireland tour. It was like the last ever parachute regiment, or at least.
Where was it, Belfast?
No, South of Mar.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So you did all the Besbrook Mill and all those sorts of places, yeah.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
Quite a strange, harrowing experience for myself, because I hadn't joined the company. I hadn't done pre-deployment training. I was just rock.
So you literally got your wings and went almost straight. You didn't got your wings?
I was penguin cutting around.
Oh, that must have been painful.
I got my wings halfway through Northern Ireland. It was just, like, seeing the guys come back off pre-deployment training, and I was shitting myself basically.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in the big boys now, and that's when it just hits you. You think, I've actually made the right decision here. There's blokes caked in shit, covered in cam cream, angry. There's just been on exercise for God knows how long, and I'm fresh-faced, little 18-year-old, shitting myself. I was thinking, if you're going to be a grizzly, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, innit? So I'm glad I made that decision.
So you got your Northern Ireland tour out of the way.
Yeah.
Did you spend any time you'd have been in Colchester then, wouldn't you?
We're in Dover for a bit.
Okay.
And then we transitioned to St. Athens.
Okay.
So it was an event, getting all the stuff from one camp to another.
Yeah.
You know you're going to be in a daft that breaks down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the journey adds another like 10 hours onto it or something. But I spent most of my time in St. Athens, big camp, and then you're going through the transition on the different mirroring of what Special Forces do, doing your CT role, counter-terrorism. I enjoyed that. I liked that.
Yeah.
Hard, especially when you're fast roping from a chopper onto a moving vessel. I enjoyed that.
They're good skills, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you're getting assets. You're asset rich in what you're doing, aren't you? So
it's not like your normal military training. It's something advanced, and then you're doing your pre-deployment training, and it's not your conventional green role type of soldiering. So like I said earlier, I wish I was older and I joined the parachute regiment earlier, so I got the best of both.
Yeah.
I didn't really see much green role.
Right, so you went straight into this SFFG role.
Well, just on the verge of it.
As it was becoming then.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't get to see, but hearing all the stories from all the other people and stuff like that, it was like you feel like you've missed out, but you don't realise you've got so much to come.
So did you do Iraq and Afghanistan?
I did, yeah.
You did, and great time or?
Afghanistan, well, I was in a Wimmick and we got blew up. I was top gunner. It was pressure plate. Got dicked, so went to investigate. Came back and parked up. And boom. Like earlier on that, there was a few of our vehicles hitting mines. Got more indirect mortar fire, and I'm like, I think 21 at the time, and now honestly, my arse 50 like that. I was thinking, and then people are just cutting around, going, it's nowhere near, man, with the indirect mortar fire, and I'm flapping like a little budgie here, and I'm thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, it's an experience.
Yeah. And did you pick up any, sustain any injuries from
that? I didn't. No? None of it did. Thankfully, the Land Rover was all kitted out, but it was a pressure plate, and it went straight up the engine block. 105 shell.
Pretty lucky then, really.
Pretty lucky. The downside about it is it was pretty fresh. And when the guys came with the metal detectors, just to the right of her, there was something a lot larger, and they put it down to an anti-tank mine. So if we'd parked a little bit to the right, I probably wouldn't be here.
Probably not. Yeah, you'd have got both. You'd have double whammy, didn't you? Yeah, you'd have been.
But when you watch the movies and you hear stuff, you think, is it like that? But when you're actually in that situation yourself, the only thing you can kind of say is the same or similar is when everything slows down and goes into slow motion.
It does, it generally does,
It literally does.
The first time I got blown up was in Northern Ireland by a bar, and it was literally, I remember that my chest sort of like imploded. It felt like I was having all the air sucked out of me. Everything around me was like,
it's quick. There's none of this, there's a bomb, I best get... You just don't know. It's boom, massive dust cloud. I've spanked in, lying in the back of the Wimmick. Ears both ringing. And
much stuff coming out of the sky, because I remember crawling under the vehicle when there's big lumps of concrete.
It left a big old crater, and the engine block was just destroyed. Well, like I say, thankfully no one got injured, but it's just one of those times where you think, I'm lucky.
Yeah, you're in the glad to be alive club for sure. So you did Afghanistan, you did Iraq as well?
Did Iraq.
Did you get up to much out there?
I don't think I'll be allowed to say much, but obviously you were in Baghdad.
Yeah.
G Squadron.
Okay.
Sorry, D Squadron, Hereford. Good, massive learning curve.
Yeah.
Seeing how, basically mimicking what...
Now you are in that support role, you are...
Were
you kicking doors in, or were you sort of like cording?
We were doing the cording. I spent most of the time doing all the DNA stuff and recording with the cording team and all that. It was quite a... there was one particular job where, obviously, unfortunately, the guy didn't surrender, and need I say more, you know what happens.
Yeah.
And seeing all the women and children, and the kids are outside screaming, they don't know anything, but the women, they know they're with bad men, and they're not bothered. They just think, well, I'm alive.
Yeah.
The Terps on the megaphone saying drop your weapon and your lots all on the ladders, and just it just opens up, and then you just think, it sounds like music to my ears, that. And then when the dust settles, you're told to go in and do all the DNA. And I remember me TL went, Dunny, go swab his mouth and I got the swab kit. I was like, I don't know where his mouth is. He's everywhere. Well, just pick something. I was like, all right, okay. And I just picked a bit of flesh up and just swabbed it. And I was thinking, this is mega. No, this is mega. Like, just oblivious.
Yeah.
I used to wear contacts at the time, and I lost one of my contacts, which was me right eye. So I've got ladders. With one eye. I'm thinking, I hope we don't come under attack because I'm fucked. I can't see.
I'm going to have to pray and spray.
Yeah, pray and spray, yeah, because it was my right contact lens.
Oh,
so,
dear.
Yeah. But like I say, you have some good times, you have some bad times. They were potentially going to send back to Afghanistan halfway, but they managed to get the rest of the tour down in Iraq to swapping halfway through.
Yeah.
Because there was discussions whether British forces could operate. They were about cannon that, but I think we sweethearted the Yanks and the Iraqis. But the Americans, when you see what they've got, man, and you see what we've got, you can tell our blokes appreciate when they get something Gucci, when they get something nice, shiny, they'll either destroy it or they'll end up selling it, or they'll just try and deny they had it so it doesn't get put a serial number put on it. But the Americans just, honestly, the amount of stuff they get.
Yeah, crazy. So, how long did you do in the parachute regiment?
6 years. I would prefer to do a lot longer, but it was a time when I got to that point, everyone was just leaving to do CP or maritime.
Is that what lured you out to do the CP stuff? Because I mean, I got, guys are obviously, we see serving soldiers all the time because I was in Iraq, loads. And you're telling them when they're asking you what you're being paid, and you say, "Well, we're doing all right." Do you know what I mean? And they know you're getting some quite big money.
Oh yeah.
So was that sort of like a big draw for blokes to get out?
Yeah, I think after Northern Ireland, that's what kind of took a lot of our people from our battalion to Iraq and Afghan and various places. I was nearly heading to Afghan, but then there was a bit of discrepancy with me not having a driving license at the time.
Yeah.
I was banned, so the Yanks were a bit whingy like that. I was like, oh god. And then obviously it just came up to go on the ships, and I thought, I'm qualified for both.
So did you do any of these courses when you got out of the military? Did you?
Yeah.
Which ones did you do?
I did obviously my CP.
Okay, who did you do it with?
I did it with Brian Tuff.
Okay.
And
there was so
Nick
many
McCarthy and all that.
there was so many courses at the time.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And did you do everything? So you did CP, maritime, the whole lot in a one.
Yeah.
So you got fully carded up.
Yeah.
SIA badge.
Everything.
The whole shoot.
Basically everything on the table, and then just as you do.
Yeah.
When you're applying for a new job, you just bombard everyone.
Yeah.
And then I've covered everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't just going to say, oh, we'll just do CP, we'll not do maritime. Whatever came first, I'll take.
Yeah.
And
cool.
obviously, unfortunately, well, I say fortunately, maritime.
Okay, so your first, who were you working for with maritime stuff? Can you say?
I was working for various companies before my last company, when it all went tits up.
Okay. So we'll get to that, but did you, I mean, I was doing the transits and all sorts, and I did have quite a good laugh on some of them, but pirates were full of few and far between. Weapons were even fewer and further between, you know what I mean? We were most of it unarmed when I first started doing it.
Well, they tried to get me to do a couple of unarmed transits for Nigeria and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't trust. No, I couldn't.
Yeah, I've done the Nigerian stuff. You have to have the policemen on the boat, and they're brassing everything up. Anything that comes to do it, they're brassing up. You spend more time pulling them off the end of the ship than what you do looking at the pirates.
Like I say, even on the Horn of Afghan, we've all seen the videos, and you just think, if that was British, they'd be in front of court of law going down.
Yeah.
But these people from wherever they were, I think you can kind of gauge where they are from their voices. Zero fucks given.
Yeah.
and you just think, and that's why you get the people who basically characterise you all as the same. And I'm like, hang on, we may do the same job, but our professionalism is a higher standard than them cowboys. They're the ones that's given us the bad name. You know?
So let's talk through the transit where you obviously went down the pipe. You set off on a normal transit. Where were you going from and to?
We embarked in Muscat in the Oman, and we were meant to go to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
2
so
days
straight south.
Yeah.
Journey straight south down the thing.
Yeah. 2 days into the transit, RTL got an email saying basically the company's going to save a bit of money, not get the pilot boat, but have our company vessel. So we're going to board that,
29,
which is just like basically a floating armory, so to speak. So after about 5-6 days, we boarded that. Few leaving, and then after that we decided that was it, we're going to cease operations. Everything gets locked away, stored away. Only 2 people have access to the armory, and that's the captain and the TDO, the tactical deployment officer. And that was it. We're off to get fuel, food and provisions for our vessel, because we were at a point where we, if we went another month we'll be on the bones of our so we definitely need to get stuff, because you don't know how long you're going to be on there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the dollar changes and the freight goes somewhere else, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You can end up chasing all around the ocean with it, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
After half a mile, take
so
exit 29,
did what you
N5,
do,
J29
chill out,
towards
sunbathe, fish, see some crazy fish that you've never even seen before on the India line, couple of squid.
Big old Dorados and that, pulling them in on a hand line. It's a great time.
Plenty of squid squirting all over the shop. Just give it to the chef. Cook that for me tea. But it was just life on the sea. People always said to me, don't expect being on a fantastic ship all the time. I said, I was in the parachute regiment. We're not used to getting good gifts. We're used to the bare minimum of everything. Yeah. But utilise what you've got.
Yeah.
So, well, the weather started changing. Waves, and apparently there's a cyclone. So, in the maritime law,
turn left, A30,
in such times where there's cyclones, etc., you can seek shelter in a neighbouring country.
Okay.
That neighbouring country.
What sort of ship were you on? What sort of ship was it? Was it a
little
big ship? Or one of those coaster type things?
Yeah, like a Coast Guard kind of
yeah.
old navy.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big ship, was it? Wasn't
No.
like a tanker or anything like that. We'll side left and we'll go into India.
Yeah.
And take a bit of cover.
Yeah, and under maritime law, you can seek shelter.
Yeah.
Through that little loophole, so to speak, if there's a cyclone, etc., or
after 600 feet, keep
nets
right.
tangled in your propeller, whatever. Under maritime law, you can seek shelter, and that's what we're doing. And we were transporting the fuel and provisions. I think it was like 11:30 at night, saying, just to let you know, we've been boarded by the Indian Coast Guard and we're under gunpoint.
Keep right.
Making our way to the port of Tuticorin. And we're like, okay. I wasn't
One bothered.
no, because in this part of the world, in this job, you get stupid things like this, where they'll go, oh, your passport's a bit frayed. Right, how much to make it go away? $4,000. Oh, right, cool. It's an expensive passport. Anyone who's done maritime or CP, when you're abroad, you'll always come across some chancer, and they hold your green ticket, and and that's what we thought it was.
Yeah.
And for where we were to port was an hour and a half away, max, at 10 to 12 knots. we were going 2 knots.
Right, okay.
This was taking a long time. I questioned why we going so slow, and he goes, I don't know. He'll not speak to us. He'll not speak to the captain. This guy on the bridge from the Coast Guard, weapons, not interested. And we were getting closer to the port, and we were welcomed with a welcome committee. I easy counted, didn't even need to count, you could easily just see a minimum of 50 people, and that's not including the staff that works there. This was police from different units,
Right, okay.
and a high media presence, all port
Media
side.
as well.
Yeah, port
So
side.
now, are you thinking now, right, this is going a bit Pete Tom?
Yeah, I was just thinking, what is going on now? And we docked, gangway, there you go. And all the police were just running on, and we had to form some sort of order. And a few people, oh, you can't do that, you know, you're going to upset them. And like, if they keep running onto this vessel, we'll be capsized. That's how silly they were. And we had to literally say, look, we don't know who you are. You're not showing what identification. You're not getting on the vessel. Please comply. You know, the good old head wobble and just blank you and just
Do what they want anyway.
do what they want anyways. And you're like, right, okay. So we were just basically told to just keep out the way, but surrender your passports and your discharge book for your maritime documentation. And then that was it. A few people got questioned. I never. And then after 4 days being portside,
Not allowed off or nothing like that?
we weren't allowed off. No, we weren't. You know, well, we already informed the company, already informed the British Embassy. They apparently couldn't get access to her. You know, read between the lines with that. We did question the embassy on that, and they said they couldn't get access. I'm thinking, well, did you not pursue it?
Yeah, just pitch up.
Yeah.
How about just come down and see us?
Yeah, exactly. But after 4 days, a big 4-tonner, like 2 4-tonners turned up, a load of armed guys, and we thought, this isn't going well. Especially when during day 1 to day 4, it's constantly 24 hours, and you get no sleep, and you're passport to different police organisations. And I mean, as far as Mumbai. So someone's told, I even was questioning, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, something's not right here. Why is people from Mumbai here? Why is people from, I think, New Delhi,
Yeah.
not just the local cowboys, big people? And then apparently they were going, there's nothing to be had here, showing the weapons. We never denied hiding any weapons, but their media from the local boys said they found them. Well, you didn't, you were showing them. But after day 4, they removed all 35 weapons because they said we might use them.
Right, okay.
I'm thinking, all right, okay. So, Sundance kid, you know, Butch Cassidy and Sundance, the final throw. I don't think that's going to happen. We're professional outfits here. We're not idiots. We're not going to go arm ourselves with single-shot weapons and try and take on a military. Don't be daft. And then 2 days later, so that's 6 days at port. It was, I think, 7 o'clock in the morning, because at the time it was 4.5 hours ahead. So back in the UK it must have been about between 3 and 4 in the morning. Obviously my family were all aware, because there was already rumour reports online saying we're apparently doing a Mumbai style attack. And my dad questioned me. He says, right, I'm reading this, your mum and me's quite worried. You said you're protecting, you're doing security. I said, yeah. He says, well, that's not what we're reading online here. you're selling weapons to fishermen and doing a Mumbai style attack. I was like, no, I'm not. Discard that, that's false. He goes, I want, yeah, promise. Are you up to any dodgy business? Because you're on your own if that's the case. I went, no, this is legitimate. Something's not right. He went, right, okay, you've got our support. And I just, after that phone call, I was like, what the fuck are these arseholes saying? And then,
you must have been racing now. You must
I was like,
thinking,
I'm getting nearly I'm being nearly accused as a freaking terrorist here.
Yeah.
And we've got Indian crew. You know, and they were treated awful. Because they were like aiding and abetting in their eyes.
Yeah.
And then obviously got to that where the two buses turned up and they said, yeah, you're going to the hospital for a checkup, but you can't take your wallet, you can't take your mobile phone, you can't take, if you're wearing a belt, you can't wear a belt. Some guy couldn't take his reading glasses, so he was like, can't see. It was just a madness. And the TDO went, right lads, you know what's happening, let's not beat around the bush, we're all blokes at the end of the day, suggest you get your phone calls made now, because we're going to prison. And
what were you thinking at this stage? You're thinking, you know, how could it get that wrong?
My head was racing, my heart was pounding. I was thinking, hang on, I've been to India before, but not like this. So I was ringing my sister, mind the time difference. Sister didn't have her answered. I don't have many regrets in my life. I wish my mum never answered this phone. I really do. And the reason being is because it's the last time she ever spoke to me before suffering a double aneurysm, where she can't speak properly. And I had to tell my mum, who's in and out of sleep, that it's gone tits up. I'm not coming home.
Wow.
I don't know when you'll next see me or hear from me, but I love you. Take care. I'll do what I need to do. And that was it. And I went, Mum, I've got to go, Lisa's ringing us back. I went, the shit's happening, get the embassy now. I'll speak to you later. Bye. I love you. Short, simple, to the point. Not at 3-4 o'clock in the morning my sister wants to hear, but I know for a fact they were okay. This was now me. I had to blot my family out as best as I could.
Yeah.
Because if I let my feelings overpower me, it's going to make my situation 10 times harder. Because emotions make you feel weak.
Yeah, and you're going to bring all that in with you.
Yes. So I had to just discard that, and then that was it. Like, you're about to leave your phone and you put it on the table and everything gets locked on the ship, and you go on the bus and there's 2 armed police officers per one person, and there's 35 of us, so 2 buses then equal. You're cramped, you've got weapons, their weapons, we're not even handcuffed, and the barrels are all over, and we're like, I'm just thinking, if we hit a bump in the road, a round's gonna go off. So you hadn't got time to think your family of the situation. You were thinking, I hope I don't die in this frigging bus, because apparently we're going to the hospital. We didn't go to a hospital, we went to the court. Wait, we went to the police station, sorry. Blues and twos, media hanging out their cars trying to get pictures of it. It was just, the weather started warming up. Southeast India, anyone who's been there, it's a minimum 30 degrees, 35. It's a sweat box.
Goppingly hot.
Oh, it's gopping. And like where we were in Tuticorin, I don't think they've ever seen white people before. So when they saw us, it was just like, we were like an attraction. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And we were all chucked in this tiny little room, and No, I think we'll give them a bottle of water each. No food, nothing. Right, no agent. Agent, he disappeared. Someone from the company had turned up, but then he apparently got hot collar and disappeared because they were going to arrest him. We're like, where's our embassy? We've got no lawyer, and the police are interrogating us. Sign here or I'll ruin your life. And I'm like, it's a blank piece of paper. I'm signing nothing. And it was like that, and it was getting close to tea time, and the woman in charge of the investigation, we all called her Madam Q Branch, because that was the organisation, Q Branch Anti-Terrorist Unit. So if they're involved, they're obviously claiming we're terrorists.
Yeah.
And she was making her mouth go, so we all had to get on the buses again. We got to the court, but we arrived a little bit late. We all got off the bus, went around the back. Some guy in a suit came out, said something in Tamil, got back on the bus, and then we went to the Hotel California, the first prison in Palamcourty, and got there about 11 o'clock, half 11 at night. And when you looked at this prison was built during the British reign.
Wow.
That's just
I bet it was proper grim looking.
You looked at the gates and you just thought, I'm going to die. I'm going to die in here. Yeah, and I'm just like, what on earth is going on? And obviously you couldn't see things with it being at night time, so we all got bundled, got my little two blankets, a spoon, a metal mug, and a dog bowl plate thing, and then that was it. All chucked in this big outhouse thing with this hole in the floor as a toilet and a water trough to wash. And it was just like metal bars, bland. You wouldn't even think it was a prison if they didn't have metal bars. That was, and then it's one of the worst noises I'll ever hear. And it's the noise that always sends shivers down my spine. And that's when the prison door shuts and they hear the keys clanking. That's when reality hits. That's when the hairs on your back of your neck and your arms stand up. That's when the pain and suffering begins. That's when your family comes into your forefront and you're saying no, because I need to focus, I need to get my head around what is going on in your emotions, and you feel like just exploding, but you've got to stay calm, and you just sat there and you're just thinking, what now?
And you've got no idea how long you've been charged for, what you've been charged with, how long you're going to be there for. Have I got a sentence on my own remand? You've got no idea at this
Nothing.
stage.
It was
nothing. You've got no
nothing.
idea. You
No idea.
You can be there you hear horror stories, don't you?
Yeah.
These places, well, you've been on remand for 27 years, mate. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's totally different kettle of fish. Their judicial systems are abroad compared to here in the UK. And then when daylight
After
happens and you kind of get let out, you just see the rest of the prison and you see all the Indians hanging out our windows, and the reality stick hits you. Think you're a big tough guy. You're not a big tough guy now. You've been stripped of everything. You've been stripped of your freedom. That's what hurts the most.
Yeah, it's nothing you can do about it, is it? Nothing.
Especially when you know you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Hand on your heart, you are an innocent man. And you've had your freedom taken away. That's the most despicable thing I think they can do to someone. Well, obviously apart from torturing someone to death, but that to me was equivalent.
Yeah.
I've just lost everything. I was like
half a mile, sharp left,
in someone's hand, and my life was dictated by theirs.
So what happens now? Where were you going to now? did you start to find stuff out? Did you start to
the
sort of
next-
like what people telling you?
Sharp left.
Everything was just, even the prisons were just, oh, what's going on here? Like, they've never seen white people. First, when they found out there was 6 British here, they were nearly doing cartwheels, man, in the prison. Because where we were was so anti-British.
Yeah.
They can't comprehend that we ruled them. They despise the British, the Southeast, and the local prisoners told with us, says you're going to get it hard because they hate you. And we were just thinking, just keep your head down. And it is hard to not lose your shit.
Did you experience anybody like coming to give you a bit of a hard time? Did you have to?
There is a story of me kicking off, and I just lost the emotions, and basically I started a brawl in the hospital, and then we ended up being in a 3-month compound lockdown. So I was obviously flavour of the group, but we got the embassy to come in, and we were just like, and they were in the dark. We're like, we don't even know what's going on. Can you tell when we're? And obviously the guy let the TJO let him crack on, and and then at the end she went, look, your families are, here's some paper, write your initial family, and you know you've got so much to say, but when that
After
piece of paper and that
go
pen's
left
given
on the
you,
roundabout and take the first exit,
because you're like,
A35 towards
how do I
Dorchester.
not worry my family? I'm fine.
Go left on the
That's not
roundabout
good enough.
and take the
That's
first
not good
exit.
enough. So I kind of had to tell her a white lie just to protect my family, because I was in the dark as much as them, and I'm living it. My nightmare's now begun. For how long? So I just had to keep say, look, don't worry about me. I'll keep it together. And that's why I do mention about. I'm so grateful that I've got my military training, because of what the military does to you.
Follow A35 Kings Road towards
times of
Dorchester
adversity
for 13
happens.
miles.
You know how to act, and when you've got nothing left, you can always try and cling on to that little bit of hope.
There's always a chance. If you
Yes.
can make a millimetre gain on anything, there's always a chance. Isn't there?
100%.
While this is going up and down,
Yeah.
there's a bit of air in me. I'm like, well, I could always turn this around, isn't there?
Yeah. And sometimes, as much as you don't want to play their game, you have to. If they say jump, how high?
Yeah.
Just to help you. And even they were saying, help you, help us, blah blah.
So how long was it before you sort of like got sentenced, or had an idea of what you were actually going to be looking at?
Months. We were in prison for about 3-4 months with no charge.
Right,
We were shifted up. The Indians stayed in Palamcote, but they shifted us 23 foreigners up to the remand prison in Chennai, because I was sent to prison too. And honestly, what a prison! Wow. We saw other foreigners like Nigerian drug dealers, Syrian meth dealers, just the odd person just extending their stay and forgetting their visa. People like that. Tamil Tigers, they all knew us. They all were reading their papers before we even, we came through the 14-hour bus journey. I was on nerves for 14 hours. Because
Did you ever think about trying to escape? Like, was that going through the back of your mind? Did you ever think
we could have easily escaped. We would just batter the Indian police and just pinch their guns and run away. But 23 white people would stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. You'll get some. You'll get some eventually, won't you?
Where we were wasn't it's not like Goa or Mumbai where there's more Western people there, so you can kind of blend in. We hadn't hope in hell, so you just go right, just grin and bear it.
Yeah, you would have been grassed up at every junction there, wouldn't you? There would have been nobody to harbour you, nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. I'll tell you what, can we just stay here for a couple of days and then we'll get out of here?
You go to see where the police will be there.
Yeah.
But like I said, we got the remand prison, and the embassy starts to come and see you every fortnight with letters from your family, and you don't know what to say. Like, my mum and my sister and my dad having kittens, and they're writing in words, and I'm like, I can't deal with this.
Well, like, I met your sister fairly early on with some of the campaigning, so, you know, I was seeing that side of things. And,
I can't comprehend, like, how do I write back? What do I, like, I'm in a cell with 22 other guys with a hole in the floor and a couple of buckets to swirl it away.
What sort of food were you getting?
The food in the remand prison was beg, borrow and steal. We'd done extreme dieting in the 6 months we were there. I've got at home, which was done by someone else, all of our weight loss. I've never revealed a lot of the whole. I've got a whole year and a half. Their media saying, their top admiral saying, God, who do you think we are? The food, potatoes, carrots, onions, green beans, and measly chicken neck and wings at first. Sometimes, this was just for, you know, imagine trying to feed 23 people. We made ourselves little food teams. We're not Gordon Ramsay, we're not chefs, we just tried our best. Majority of the food would be like a stew. I'm sure we gave ourselves food poisoning. I thought I was going to die in there. Just lying there in your cell, sweating because of the heat, and you just feel your stomach gurgling. And during the day when we were in the prison, we never used the inside toilet, we used to use outside toilets just to keep it fresh a bit, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was lying there, we'd all gone down. It was like a hot knife through butter how quick DV can spread in the environments. If one person gets it, you've all got it. There's no way to hide. You can't hide. And I was lying there, and I need to go to the toilet. And I was walking, and I puke up, and then I fart and I shit myself, and I just cried for me mum like a little boy. I was like, I'm gonna fucking die in here. I'm gonna die in here. Now one of the Estonians, he had a stomach ulcer. He was rolling around in pain at night time, and the guards were like, ugh. If we had died there, they wouldn't have cared.
You got dragged off.
We've seen it.
Buried and
the way one person died on the table, sheet over him, left by the front door for the ambulance to come and pick him up, just like that. Unbelievable. Like, one of the guys, were all like receiving letters from the embassy, and one of the embassy girls says to one of the lads, "Oh, can you stay behind?" And then we went and whatever, and he came back. He goes, "Oh, me dad and me partner's coming out to see us." And then time went by. So this was October. We're not charged. Christmas comes, New Year comes. Like, I don't know what's going on. My family's withholding. I didn't hear. And the embassy comes and they say, "Nick, can you stay behind?" And I'm like a Cheshire cat here. I'm buzzing. I'm like, someone's come to see us. Buzzing. And I'll never forget the face on Sharon, the embassy girl, when she handed me letter. She just saw us buzzing, and she looked and she went, "I can't do this. You're gonna have to read this, Nick." Even she didn't know how to handle it. And I don't know what this letter was saying, but it was just, "Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. She's alright, she's alright." And it's my sister, and I'm like, what's going on? And it was about my mum. She was in the hairdresser's 5 days before Christmas, and she suffered a double aneurysm. I think it was due to the stress of what was going on with me. I think that just set the wheels in motion. and it just destroyed us. I felt ruined. I was like, I'm in the prison on the other side of the world here for a crime I've not committed, and now I've just been told my mum's lying in the hospital bed fighting for her life. What do I do? So I leave the jailer's office where we used to have our embassy meetings, and I was in a tunnel, and the red mist is coming down. I'm getting pelted by stones off the local population prisoners. A few flowery words I could understand, racial slurs, 100%. But the pain I was going through didn't even match what they were trying to inflict on me. I had to walk nearly a mile to our compound, and I was dragging my feet. And I got to the compound and I saw the TDO, and I broke down, and he took us away. I said, I can't do this. Fuck this, no way, can't do this. And he grabbed us and he gave, because he was ex-reg as well, and he gave us a slap. He says, hey, sort yourself out. You're a paratrooper. Dig deep. Your family don't want to see you like this. And you know what? It hit us. It hit us hard, and I was like, you know what? I can't let them get away with this. I'm not going to let them beat me. I'm going to rise above everything. I'm going to do it not for myself, but I'm going to do it for my mum, my family, and just, I'm innocent. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing, but I'm in prison for, what am I meant to do? How do you comprehend this? Like,
it's helpless almost, isn't it? That's the bit I'm getting here is so helpless that you just, what can I do?
First thing, get yourself orientated. While you're still mentally healthy. We're all here, all the survival experts, and it's true. The longer you leave things, the less you're going to get done. The more weaker you become mentally. When you're fresh and you've got that fight survival mode set, get your orienteering done, the layout of the prison, where, what to do, timings if need be, and get yourself into some sort of routine.
To understand how your life needs to be to get day-to-day running done.
Yeah. You've been in the army, you've lived in the desert in Afghanistan for 3 weeks. You can do this. At least you've got a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You haven't got a camel spider trying to attack you.
Well, that's a positive for us, isn't it?
You've got rats and cobra snakes cutting about, but never mind. Take one and the other. But honestly, like, what an experience.
Yeah.
Like, I don't come from a overprivileged lifestyle, family, etc. We all know what hard times are. But this was lower than whale shit level. This was your life's just been stripped away before you, and you're now a number, a prison number. That's what you are.
Yeah.
And you've just got to keep plugging away. Every day is Groundhog Day. All the time, you try and make your day as good as best as. It's when them doors shut again and the clacking of the lock and that's when it all comes back. The pain, the suffering, the sleepless nights, going to sleep with the tears streaming down your eyes because you don't want to show weakness in front of the others by crying.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who did that. Don't care how tough you are, you'll have shed a tear in that. Yeah. You've just had your life just ruined in an instant. You've got to just put what you know, but take what training you've got military-wise and implement that in your day-to-day life, and that's how it has to be. And
So at what point did you start getting a bit of light at the end of the tunnel? When did you find out, you know, when did they sentence you, for instance? When did you start thinking, you know, get your head around how long you're going to be there?
We got charged for weapons and all that after like 4 months, and then we got bail bail April 2014, and that was it. Stringent bail conditions, signing at the police station twice daily. That went on for...
Where were you staying?
Just in a hotel paid by the company, and then they decided to just default on the payments and then got kicked out. So it was fend for myself. So I'm not earning, and now my family's got to make sure that I've got a roof over my head and to survive, because there was no help from the British government. It's not part of their protocol.
What you do? Just try and find yourself digs somewhere.
Yeah.
That's just...
So me and one of our Brits and 2 of our Estonians kind of together, but that kind of breaks up because as time goes by, the frustration, people start falling out, which you're missing your family. That's where the anger stems from. You're basically, you're free, but you're not. You've got the freedom of movement, but it's like an extended holiday.
Yeah, it's somewhere you don't want to be.
Yeah. Not one of them holidays. I don't know where I want to be, but yeah, it was like you're in. So you just try and make do. Yeah. Try and learn the layout of the land.
So this goes on for a while. And then paperwork, all this court hearings. The case goes all the way up to Supreme Court. You've got the police, you've got our lawyer, the Estonians got their lawyer, but the thing about India, it's all a caste system. Our lawyer was more experienced, but the Estonian lawyer was higher caste, so he was able to talk before our lawyer. So the police are saying you've got illegal weapons, blah blah. We've turned around and said, no, we're just getting provisions. Because that's all the judge wanted. And then all the Estonian's lawyer had to say was, the guys on the vessel is crew members and we're waiting on fuel and provisions. And that probably would have been the end of it. But he turned around and went, I don't know why the ship was there, blah blah. But the judge has just heard, I don't know why they were there, and forget everything else. That was meaningless. He got his answer there. So he was like, well, if you're saying that, and you're saying that, we need to have a trial. And we went, it's going back to the Lion's Den. So this went all the way up to New Delhi when we were out of prison. And we could have been home at Christmas 2015. No, let's start a trial. Well, it would have been probably home in the summer. So the trial started September, going down from Chennai to Tuticorin, 9.5 hour bus journey. Now and again. I told the lawyer, I said, look, I met a girl out there and I'm staying in Chennai. I'm not coming down unless the judge wants us to come. I said, the reason being, when they were cross-referencing all like the weapons expert who only fired 2 rounds through, and he went, well, it's not an automatic weapon. The collector of evidence didn't even wait for his report and just put the charges on me. And when he's getting cross-referenced in a court of law and you're hearing this when it gets translated, I felt ill. I went, that's perjury. You've just lied in a court of law. Well, we'll just take your first statement anyways. He went, I wouldn't have put the charges on the men if I'd seen the ballistics expert report. I went, but you put the charges on without seeing it. You made our life hell. Yeah.
And I went, I can't deal with this. I felt like strangling them.
I bet you did, yeah.
It was like disgusting, you know. And then that was to and fro, and then it got to Christmas, and we had the 2 weeks recess. We had a little meeting with our lawyers, and they went, look, we've done everything. They couldn't even prove where the vessel was. We never lied. We never. All this rumour saying, oh, we're in international waters. We weren't. We were in their waters, but there was a reason why we were in their waters.
Yeah, because it is
due to the cyclone.
Yeah, the cyclone. Yeah.
The maritime law saved us. But they didn't. They couldn't even on a map. We said, show us where we were, and they were like, oh, couldn't.
So what brought the resolution around? And when did you first start thinking, right, we are going to get home from this? What was the catalyst for it to start going right for you?
It's not a nice thing to say, but the captain, his health deteriorated, got bone cancer, and when we were in prison, after, you know, because we got convicted, you know, sentenced for 5 years, which would be on top of the time that we've already done, and that was about
the 3-year point. So you got another 5 years, so that would have been 8 in total.
Yeah, and
wow.
I had the media ringing us, and then we're all stood at the back of the court. Judge's guy stand up, says something. Madame Q Branch disappears. Our embassy staff straight on their phone because they could understand Tamil. You know who they were ringing. And I'll tell you what, I've seen some scared people, like, you know, when you're in Afghanistan and Iraq, but I've never seen a lawyer so petrified as our lawyer was. And you had to tell 35 men, you're not going home for Christmas, you're going to prison for 5 years. I was ill. So I had to tell my family that. And after hearing my mum screaming like a wounded animal on that phone, again, having to do that phone call, and it destroyed me. But you've done it before, do it again. 5 years.
And where were you going to do that 5 years? You went back to prison?
Went back to Chennai, so went next door to Central Prison 1.
Was it any better than the remand prison?
It was a lot better. Still difficult, still have to learn everything again, but a lot better. Hardened criminals because they've been convicted and all that. You know, we saw one guy with his throat slit, blood everywhere. Guards couldn't care. Going around hitting them with laddie sticks. You know, it's mental, man. There's no law over there. They do what they didn't. We, didn't get any injuries or anything like that. Just
after a quarter of a mile,
let the emotions get the best of me. Kicked off in the hospital and turned into a massive brawl. And the superintendent, she was a bit worried for our safety, so she put in a lockdown. So yeah, everyone was quite happy with me. Just about to get escorted. So for about 3 months, no one would speak to us. I felt a right outcast, and I apologised. I said, look, I let the emotions get the best of us. What do you expect? We're all in this together. We're all in this together, whether you like it or lump it. We've all got to keep our head on our shoulders and keep plodding to that light at the end of the tunnel. Because the amount of times it got so bright and they just went dim in a heartbeat, it takes it out of you mentally.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
This is just pure mental torture, not physical. Mental. When it's physical torture, your mind can tell your body to stop feeling pain after a certain amount of time. Who tells the mind to stop feeling pain? So as time goes by, we had our court case for our appeal stuck at the High Court. The judge refused to make a decision for 1 year. So we were like, because our court is different, our lawyers can probably approach differently. In India, it's not as simple, which is strange because they mirror our courts like ours, but they still put their little spin on things. So our captain was ill with bone cancer. That was confirmed. He just looked like a bag of bones with skin. He looked ill. I thought, this man's going to die in here. And I always said, if one of us dies or is seriously injured, that'll be our freedom. I'm 100%. But I had already told my family in letters and myself 5 years. Anything before 5 years is a bonus. My mind, I'm doing the 5 years. Simple as that. Get that out the way. Anything before, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
And we'd already been told in the previous time we're getting released. Packed all our belongings, and the jailer was lying up. Another mental head fuck.
That's outrageous.
Everyone, we're all packed with belongings. And the superintendent came down, he was like, what are you all doing? We're getting bail, he said. Oh no, I didn't say nothing. Like, go on, off your pop, back to your cell.
Wow.
And that just, boomf.
Yeah.
Blokes were destroyed. Because that's what lying can do to you in that situation.
Yeah.
Build you up and just...
you know, I know that feeling of waiting for that key every time the door goes, every time you hear that clunk.
Yeah.
You know, every time it's like you almost react like that every time. Like, am I going?
Yeah.
Is it good news? What's happening now?
That's what it was like.
Yeah,
every time that door went or someone came, you hope it might be good news or some sort of news. Sometimes it was just, right, the embassy's here or you've got a visit. You know, thankfully, very grateful. My sister came to see us, picked my birthday. So my birthday's in March. So I spent 3 birthdays and Christmases in prison. So that's when I saw the last time I was begging to bring my dad, because I was never going to see my mum. And my dad's at 77 now, so at the time he was, 70 kind of thing, 70 something. And I was like, I need to see at least one of them, because what if their health deteriorates so bad with this situation they can't fly? So my dad literally lifted my spirits up, because we were waiting for the judge to make a decision, and it wasn't.
They don't care. I went
care.
to the embassy in London with your sister, and I remember them coming on the doorstep. They were like, "What do you want from us?" No, somebody horrendous.
It was absolutely horrendous, and our lawyers said, right, we'll do a red herring. We'll see if we can get the captain released, so his family from the Ukraine can come and watch him die, basically. He was getting treatment at the time. So we're stuck at the High Court. He's went through the lower court to High Court, and it went up to Mr. Chief Justice of India himself in New Delhi. The grandest judge of all heard his case and went, why are these still in my country? I want a decision in 2 weeks now. Because when they said about his case, our legal team went, excuse me, do you want to see about what's happening in your High Court, Your Honour? They're refusing to give a decision, and that was what started things, and that's when that right tunnel light is blinding you. It was just like, you'd think it was like, wow, it's on like Donkey Kong now. It's on like Donkey Kong. We've now got 2 weeks. Can't imagine what's happening back in the UK. Probably. So we never slept again. Now, that's 2 days with no sleep. You're on a high.
Hell, man.
So I'm going around and I see Paul. I said, where are you off to? This is the next day. He goes, I've been summoned to the superintendent. I went, alright, okay. So I'll do my little circuit training, and I'd walk around the compound again. And as I was coming round again, Paul was coming back in, and I said, "Oh, what's Fatty had to say?" And he goes, "Embassy's coming at 11 o'clock. Get your bags packed." He said, and honestly, I stopped.
Yeah.
It was like winning the lottery.
Yeah, I bet you absolutely.
It felt like someone had just took my kneecaps away. I was like, oh. And I was like, I'm not believing it. I was the last to pack my bags and go down. Everyone had gone there, 11 o'clock, Embassy. And I got down there. The High Commissioner was there. The Deputy High Commissioner was there. The two girls were there. And I was buzzing. I was like, I'm going home. I'm going home. This is real.
Yeah.
This is real. Even that the director of prisons was there. The superintendent came from home because she was not long had her babies. They knew we weren't meant to be there.
Well, you weren't. No, you weren't meant to be there, were you?
The prison wasn't our enemy.
Yeah.
They weren't. It was the police, the government of Tamil Nadu was our enemy, not the prison. And you later found that out. And then you get into that air-conned vehicle, and you're like, and then they give you a nice cold drink which you've never had for nearly 2 years, and it just hits, and you cry.
Yeah.
Because you just feel like, whoa, what's just happened here? But I still went, it's not over. I'm not home yet. Not trusting these bastards. This could be another trick. But the only number I could remember, because I had all my stuff, with the embassy. And I rang my sister. I said, it's me. Like she's going to know it's me, an unknown number. So I went, it's Nick, I'm out. And I think my sister Nanny deafened us screaming. She says, I'm on the way to the airport, I'm coming to get you. And I was like, she's even coming to get us. She's even coming to get us to bring us home, because she doesn't trust me to come back myself. Well, she couldn't let me bring us back because the way the embassy and all that and the documentation took another like a couple of days to get all the paperwork. A week of no sleep. I was living on fumes. Yeah, I was on fumes. I was just like, get me on that plane. And I picked my flight to where I'd only stay 2 hours in Dubai, and I hit on, and I was showing the embassy my flight, because they were taken care of by the Mission to Seafarers. You know, they were amazing support, the Mission to Seafarers. So was so many, including yourself, immense support for not just my family but all of our families. And they paid for a few nights in the Radisson Blue because we deserved it after going through hell. We deserved a little bit of luxury. It was alright eating the first bit of meal, it just went straight through. You know, a bit of rich food.
Yeah.
Eating slop, eating, you know, Big Bob's bastard stew. We called it for nearly 2 years. I'll never eat a stew ever again. But my sister came out. She stayed at the same hotel, the Radisson Blue. It's just a couple of days getting everything sorted, and then basically said you can't get that flight. You need to go now. My sister, her flight was a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So she had to go. So I couldn't get her flight, even though there was seats. It was too soon to get me on that flight. And when the embassy girls said to her, kind of, "You're all tonight. Everybody is." It was basically they've I've had a chewing off from higher authorities.
And they want some scalps back.
And they're basically saying, right, get out of this country now. So if people have said to us, would you ever go back to India? I'm probably never allowed to.
Would you want to?
No.
No chance. I don't want to go there now because of you.
I've always wanted to go and see the Taj Mahal, but I don't think I'll just watch it on a TV. But yeah, and then get to the airport. It was heartbreaking because my sister was already flying back. My partner at the time, she was devastated because she was like, am I ever going to see you again, kind of thing. But she'll always remain in my heart, even though we're not together, for what you've done. I thank her from the bottom of my heart, as I do with everyone. And then you get on that flight, 4 hours. They must have just ramped the heating on. I was in a sweatbox for 4 hours. Got to Dubai. No phone, no money, apart from I was able to get like an American. I'm thinking, you're on your last hurdle. Don't you dare miss your freaking flight.
Imagine that.
Oh man, that would have gone down like a ton of bricks. But got on the flight to Dubai, to Newcastle from Dubai.
After a quarter of a mile, cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
I have to say thank you to Emirates.
towards
I had my own trolley dolly. She was amazing, but they kept it under wraps. But when I got on that flight, you could tell I had long hair. I looked lost. The last time I was on a plane was September 2013. I stood out like a sore thumb. I looked like a bag of shit. And there was a few people that obviously recognised us. They didn't disturb us. They just did the welcome home voice, and and it finally made us choke on the plane because they knew what it symbolised, me coming home. They didn't want to disturb us, and I was hanging out. I was hanging out, and for all the dreams I had, every dream was different, but one thing that always was the same in every dream when I used to dream about coming home when I was in prison was when the captain says, right, can you return your seats, buckle up, we're coming into such and such airspace, we're preparing to land. I was watching Dunkirk and I was like in and out of sleep. I was exhausted. I was literally, that's it, wake us up when we land. And when the captain said that, you'd have thought someone just put a fresh battery in us. I was like, wash. I know what's coming. I know what's coming. And then you're looking out the window and you can see, because where the airplane comes, it passes where I live. I could see certain landmarks.
Yeah, you recognise, yeah.
And I was like that. Yeah, we'll go. I was like that, and we landed. The trolley dolly says, do you mind staying back
and take the third
get everyone
exit.
off? I can't imagine how it is for you. I went, okay. And everyone got off. Captain came out, shook all their hands, and I tell you what, I stood at the top of them stairs and I took one hell of a breath of fresh, clean, crisp December air. And the baggage handlers were welcome home. I've only fell down the stairs with emotions, and then I got on the bus and they're all I was like, sorry for keeping you wait, and they were like, oh, don't worry, this is for you, this is for you. And we literally just went, got off. One of the ladies from Newcastle Airport picked us up.
A35.
And like I said, I said thank you to the Mission to Seafarers, thank you for prisoners abroad, thank you for Emirates, but it's now to say thank you to Newcastle Airport for what they did. And literally they must have told the baggage handler, get on that flight, get his bag now, because the carousel hadn't started. My bag was stood there waiting. The lady took us, went through immigration. I was thinking I could have brought loads of tabs back. I was the only, you know what I mean? I've just lost 4 years in my life. I'm knackered. And the first thing when I walked past, because there was no one there, I went, I could have brought loads of ciggies back, me. And then she got to the doors and she says, this is a journey just for you. And she walked. You'd think it was an easy thing for something that I've been having sleepless nights, preparing myself, was nothing to take away from how I felt trying to walk through them doors. Something that should have been so easy was like, it felt like doing P Company all over again. Hard. I couldn't do it. I prepared myself and I tried, and I couldn't even take that first step. And then all the other people started coming, and a guy came and he opened the door, and I saw loads of media on the right hand side, and I saw my family and friends, and my mum in a wheelchair to the left, and the door shut, and I was like, composed myself, and I was ready to start. And then another guy, and it opens, and when that opens, because they're waiting, they know the flight's landed.
Yeah.
They're waiting on me. My dad turns, he says, he's there. And for anyone who hasn't seen the video of me come home, please watch it, because that's when you see emotions and what it means to a family, knowing that a nightmare's over. And you can see that me and my sister come together, and it was just unbelievable, the support that people showed me. You know, the media, you know, everyone's got their own views of the media, but the way the media assisted and helped my family and how they dealt with my interviews, there was no pressure, there was no their typical media. They were really good, and it just hit me. I'm home. I'm home.
Crazy.
The nightmare's over.
I can't even begin to imagine what it was.
The nightmare's over. So I do my media, and I say hello to everyone, and you know, it's strange because it's so quiet. India's bustling with life. It's very busy. Their roads, tooting the horn, and we had like a local biker gang who supported with 4X. They were our escort, and they were cutting up, stopping traffic on roundabouts. Had a free pass from the airport to home. Didn't even stop unless it was a red light. It was just amazing what they did. It felt like I was royalty, but it felt so eerie. It felt weird. I wasn't used to this. I was in a fighting survival mindset.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before, but the first thing I noticed was people in my mental health, and because I was so naive at the time, and I was thinking, why is everyone being weak as piss? You know what I mean? But I tell you what, that was all to come. That was all to come for me.
Yeah.
You know, and
did it all sort of like catch up with you slowly, and you know, you started to, because you look back on these things, things start to dawn on you after a while.
Yeah.
Close that was. And then you go, wow, that was pretty insane. Do you know what I mean? And you start to, people keep saying to me, this thing, it unravels, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the whole thing's in you at the moment. You're home, and then all of a sudden you go.
Like, I didn't know how I was going to act, how I was going to unravel, as you just said. People know me, my family know me, I'm a little hothead. I lose me shit at the least bit thing. I was losing me shit just trying to find where yous were before coming here. But yeah, I felt like I was alright. People were eyeing me loads of drink, and my dad was drip feeding it. Not that doesn't bother me. No, I was never gonna, because the worst had happened. So I wasn't gonna sit and just drink and see the bottom of a bottle. You know, things was happening. I was doing interviews and stuff like this and that, and things was good. But you know that doesn't always last forever. And when the dust starts to settle, like, it took 3 years for me to have a breakdown. Because when you're in that fight and survival mindset, the demons can't get you because you're too powerful. They wait till you're vulnerable in time of peace, when you least expect it. And I'm a big believer, and when I say this, is you need to know your own signs of your decline. I've learned mine. And yes, there might be something else, but it's other people who pick up on your actions as well. And I was noticing me and my sister, the person that I was against her, I was arguing with her. No, this is not right. She's just saved my bacon. She's just done what you would think a brother and a sister relationship would have. She went beyond. She didn't just focus on me. She focused on all of her. She, you know, how she kept it all together. A family, dealing with me mum, me. She deserves her weight in gold. She should have a medal for her acknowledgement and helping and stuff like this. But she just did it because she knew I was innocent. And I'm in her throat, and I'm like, this isn't right, and you don't realise. And then I start declining, and it just hits you. I don't want to be here anymore. This isn't my life. My life's ruined. It's like I felt like I was trapped in the past, and this is like a new chapter, but I was scared to turn the page because it wasn't over. And then this just taken me, and I indirectly took help, and people's support was fantastic. I was always, because that's the first thing I noticed when I came out, people with their mental health. I didn't want to be one of those who jump on the bandwagon. Not that I technically jumped on the bandwagon after 3 years. But when things is going on in your life, you're keeping the demons away. Yeah. You're preoccupied with other things. But it hits you. And by God, it hits you. You're powerless. You think you're Mr. Tough Guy, whatever. When your mind goes against you, got no one to talk to, you feel people are against you. It's horrible experience. You just think, why is my life crumbling from the inside out? My head's just ready to just blow up. Every time I saw me mum, it came back, because they've caused her to be like that. So I was never escaping it. As in time, I have learned to live with it. There's nothing I can do to change what's happened to me mum. But at that time, that's all I cared about. And it hits you. And I take the help from the Walking with the Wounded. Absolutely fantastic what they've done. Did some talking therapy, medication. You know, you don't always be on one medication. You've got to find what works for you, and etc. And I'm just trying to integrate back with life, and then things starting to happen, going to lockdown and all that, and you're thinking, oh yeah, we'll go again. At least this time it's not a prison, it's like a sanctuary. I've got everything I need. So, but it's, you know, and I was working, so it wasn't as bad as what others may have experienced. And it just comes again, but worse. You actually do something. Last year, you know, day before my dad's birthday, it's alright for people to turn around and say, pick up the phone, make the call. That's like taking a horse to water and forcing it to drink. It just doesn't work like that. I was talking to my friend. As soon as that phone call ended, that was it. I had an out-of-body experience. I could see myself, and I was powerless. I could see myself at the edge of my bed, undoing all the tablets, and just I was lower than whale shit. I didn't want to be here. I felt I could keep the demons at bay, and you can't. You've got to let them take hold of you and meet somewhere in the middle. But I didn't get that far. I just said, consume me. I didn't want to be here. I kind of was letting the cat out the bag. My sister went into sister mam mode, alerted my dad. My dad came, and I was in my dressing gown, comatose, in and out of consciousness, on my bed, and I could hear my dad flapping like a budgie on the phone to the paramedics. And he was like, 45 minutes, and get him there in 15. And he was trying to help us down the stairs, because I live in an upstairs flat. I was like, just edging away. And then as soon as he got me in his passenger seat, they screeched around the corner, and then they got us transferred, blues and twos, straight to the hospital, and just did all what was necessary. They kept us in all day because of the nature of the tablets. My mum, her medication was quite funky, so I had to make sure, doing blood tests, ECGs and all that, make sure that was...
You want to relapse back into it?
Yeah, make sure that there was no internal damage, and that I can be released from hospital. But like, it was a wake-up call, and I never want to experience that ever again. I've had me down days since then, but never to that point. Never to the point where I just want to, because my sister says, look, if you do that, you may as well put a gun to mum and dad's head and pull the trigger, because that's exactly what you'll do to them if you take your own life. Some people need buttered up wool around them. Some people need the truth.
Yeah, I think the truth is an absolutely imperative part of people's lives, because if you keep just telling yourself lies, it don't work, does it?
Some people don't like it because it's upsetting. Yeah. But that's when you can say, I need to do something about my life here. I need to take action.
They say the truth hurts, but it does hurt. But you know, sometimes it's necessary to be hurt, isn't it?
Because you don't think of no one else. You're very selfish. You think of your mission and your mission alone. You don't care about the fallout. You're not going to be there. And then, because I had that saving grace, at least I had to say that to me. It was just picture putting a gun to you. Picture you being forced to put a gun to your mum and dad's head and pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's not a picture you want, is it?
No. That's when you've got to take actions. That's when you've got to assess the situation, address it, and take the help that's necessary. And I'll urge anyone who is suffering, make the call. Don't wait. for that day that might not come, because that next day could be your last.
Very, very. That is the advice. That is, there's never a truer word spoken.
Your friends and family will get on you, and you'll feel like they're being an irritating bastard. That's because they care.
Yeah. No, you're
don't
right.
want to see you destroy yourself.
So, what are you up to now?
Hey.
Obviously, you've written your book.
Yeah. That is a good little achievement. Quite cathartic. It was the first time I ever sat down and lived it again.
Did you find it quite an experience writing that? Was it?
Yeah.
It's you've been very animated here in the way you've told your story, and I can imagine you telling this.
Oh yeah.
When you're in much a similar way to how you've been today.
I tell it how it is. I don't bullshit baffled brain. I don't sugarcoat. I tell it as raw as I can. I tell it, how I believe the reader would want to read the book. They want to know. And the amount of books I read in prison, the main brunt of the book, the story, was at the beginning. So that's when you read my book. Chapter 1 it starts in the courtroom, getting sentenced to 5 years. And then
you go,
go all the way back.
For me, did a similar sort of thing. It concentrated. It was mine opened in a big firefight in Gaza.
Yeah.
And then it sort of went back. How did he get here? Where did he come from?
It's basically like a biography in a way.
Yeah.
And it's got chapters of Lisa in there as well. So it's not just my account. It's got my sister's accounts, which gives you a perspective from the family, what it was like on their side during the 4 years ordeal. It was hard trying to go through it all. It was really, really hard. It is what it is.
You're there.
I am.
It's there now. You know what I mean?
It's something to be proud about. Everyone. I believe everyone's got a story. It's just some people are prepared to tell them, and others aren't. But yeah.
Nick, I think you've got an absolutely amazing story, mate. The way you come across, you're inspirational to a lot of people.
Well,
I think your work here on this planet is being done every day, and people that pick this up, that's going to help people
I hope so.
in their own life. And
I've
the way,
when
this goes out, I'm sure people will watch this, they'll relate to what you've said. And for me, it is inspirational, and you have a story which needs to be heard and told. And so I can't thank you enough for coming. I hope you'll come into the studio again at some point, and maybe we'll do some other stuff.
Oh, definitely.
But for now, Nick, thanks so much for coming, buddy. All right, so
it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Great to have you.
A35 towards Poole. Cross the roundabout and take the third exit.
Susan's dead and the police suspect foul play. She was 23 years old. I just became an adult overnight, and it was a horrible time for them. It was a horrible time for me. He was sentenced to strict life imprisonment, but by the time I'd got to 24, I joined the Naval Reserve. But I kind of don't have anything here for you apart from one job which has never been done by a woman before. It is probably the best job I ever had in the Navy. PVR rate went from 54% to 0, teaching me that I have a value, that I gave a lot, and that I was entitled to their help.
And when that lid comes off, that's when you really see the full extent of the problem. Debrief this week. I have a young lady called Annette Laurie. Now, she's done 24 plus years in the Navy, both as a reservist and full-time, and is a current ambassador for Help the Heroes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And can I take the extra 2 years because it was 26 years?
Oh, 26 years, was it?
Yes, it was.
Well, there you go. I'm gonna slap the producer later. Johnny, stand by, son. Right. So, look, listen. The way this works today, then we'll just chat like we're friends. We've never met before. All right, we'll have a good old chat. But what I like to do to establish things first, and just to get us talking, is let's talk about Little Annette. Where it all came from. Where was you brought up, and where you from, and what did you do, and how was your life when you was a kid?
There's the story. So I was born in Scotland, in Edinburgh.
Okay.
I have no accent.
There's no accent there.
There is no
That normally
accent.
means you're posh, but there's no accent and you're Scottish.
No, I got a horrible feeling I probably sound like a Devon farmer, but I'm not actually from there either. So in 1969, I was a £10 pom, and we emigrated to Australia.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
A £10 pom? That's something I heard for a long time. I was only born then. So I was being born as you were getting shipped off down to Australia.
Shut up.
All right. Started already, right? Okay. So you Australia?
Yeah, went to Australia. We landed in. All the Poms went there. And the Achille Lauro was actually a hijacked ship, not while we were on it, but a few years later. And they made a movie, and Charlton Heston was the lead. And it was hijacked, and basically some Israeli terrorists came on board the Achille Lauro, and when they got fed up with this Yankee who was in a wheelchair, they actually opened the back end of the railings and pushed the guy played by Charlton Heston off the back end of the Achille Lauro in his wheelchair in front of his wife. And that is a genuine movie, and it's a genuine story, and it's called Hijacks.
And you was on that show. Luckily, it wasn't on it when it was hijacked.
Correct.
And you did make it down to Australia. That was Australia.
Australia's awesome. My daughter still lives there. She lives in Sydney.
Okay.
And we've got loads of friends on the East Coast, although we lived, so that's Queensland, Sydney and that side.
Yeah.
But we actually made our home in Perth. So we landed in Fremantle, made our home in Perth, and that's where I went to school and stuff, and then came back as a teenager.
Being a £10 pom in Australia in those days, did the kids give you a bit of a sort of, it's a £10 pom? Did they give you that sort of treatment?
No, I think that was reserved for the blokes around the Barbie, because they didn't know how to Barbie. Back in the 60s, nobody had a barbecue. We didn't even have showers. Everything in England was baths. And so, of course, you go to this country and there are showers, and for us as kids, this is a novelty.
What do you do with that? Yeah.
Barbecues were a novelty, but they used to take the mick out of the guys because they didn't know how to barbecue and drink proper beer and this stuff. But no, they kind of left the kids alone. I think because the kids adapted really quickly.
Kids always sort of like integrate, don't they? You know, when you shove them together, and before you know it, they're just more interested in what bit of kit they can get out of it to play with, innit? You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
So what was the school like then? Were you good at school? Were you clever?
I don't know. It was primary school. It was a Catholic school.
Strict then?
Yeah, nuns. It was a good school.
Yeah.
It was a good school. I think, levels of discipline back in the day were such that actually they turned out decent people today.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave that hanging there.
Yeah.
So it was a good school in that respect. It gave my parents a bunch of well brought up, well mannered, well respectful children. Gave us a good education, but then the great outdoors over there gave us a good education as well.
I'm sure it did, yeah. And I always say to people, that, especially young people nowadays, your education doesn't stop at schools. You know what I mean? You've got to get out. And people that tend to do things like Army Cadets, Cubs, Scouts, ballet, football, rugby, whatever it is they do, if they've got an outside activity to school, it does progress them a lot quicker than other places, doesn't it?
It makes them a better person.
More rounded.
It makes them a better. I was just going to use the exact word, an all-rounded person.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All those sorts of groups are. It just gives them a different outlet to what they learn in the classroom as well. So I totally agree. But yeah, we had a good life, and then my mum got homesick, so we came home.
Oh, okay. So wow, that was sort of like. Were you a bit gutted? I mean, as a kid, so if I lived somewhere I enjoyed it, and someone all of a sudden said, "Oh, you're going home now," I'd be like, "Oh, we go on holiday."
We were totally gutted.
Yeah.
My mum will say that, "Oh no, you all wanted to come home." My brother and I will turn around and go, "No, we didn't."
No chance.
We actually ran away for about 2 hours.
Well, you ended the drive and back.
Well, we said if we've got to go back, we're going to run away. And that was partly because they turned around and said they can't take our dog back with us. We'd taken our dog from England out to Australia, and they'd said we can't take the dog. So my brother and I just turned around and said, not having that, and we ran away.
With the dog?
We took our money box and we ran up the road, and we were found a couple of hours later. And my dad basically said, well, shall we see how much you've got to run away with? And And naively we said, yes, here you are. And then he took it and he went, well, you're not having that back.
Got nothing there.
But I think fair play to my mum and dad. They realised how serious we were, and I don't know what it cost them, but it cost a lot of money. And you know what? Our dog came all the way back with us.
Wow. Okay.
But that was horrible in that time, because those were in the days when
I'm going to tell you, because I love my
your
dog.
dog had to be
I love my
quarantined for 6 months, I think it was.
I love my dog, and I can't imagine me, whatever goes on with the dog, if it's going to cost me some dough, then dog's dog in it.
I'd second mortgage my house if I still have my dog. I'd second mortgage my house for me. I had a lab until a few years ago and died, and that's it.
Dogs are
stole my
awesome.
heart.
Lovely dogs. Anyway, so you come back to the UK, right? What age is this that you back in the UK?
So I was a teenager, so I came back to school. A bit guttingly, Australia starts school at 6 and finishes junior school at 12. In England, you start at 5 and finish at 11. And we came back, so I came to junior school in Scotland, because we went home, stayed with my granny for a bit. And then by the time we got to Plymouth, I joined Notch Dam, another Catholic grammar school, and I had about 2 weeks before summer holidays, and then the nuns and my parents decided that you can't learn a year's worth of work in 2 weeks. So that instead of going up with my peers, I should stay down.
So you got back squatted as it
yeah,
were.
literally. So, Wonder Troop, here we go. So I'm there, and everybody else is a year younger than me. The people I just made friends with have gone on now.
And now you're with the Tiddlers,
And
as it
I
were.
hate every...
So did you achieve much at school in the end of it? Yeah?
At school I achieved diddly squat, because I was an absolute nightmare of a teenager to my parents. I put that down to me being the oldest of 6.
Okay. Oh, 6. Wow, that's a big old family.
And my mum was an only child at the time. She's actually found out that she wasn't, but at the time she was brought up as an only child. My dad was the oldest of 4, and he went off to sea at 16, 17, boy sailor thing. So neither of them had seen or experienced adolescence. And then suddenly they're faced with this child, this demon child. So unfortunately, the more they came down harder on me, the more I kicked back. And it was a horrible time for them. It was a horrible time for me. And it just came to a point at school. I just went, it's fine, I'm leaving home. I'd always said I was going to leave home at 16. I hated it. And everybody went, no, you won't. And I said, I'm leaving home. And 3 days after my 16th birthday, I had a massive row with my mother, and I went, leaving home.
Right, okay.
So I stole a suitcase from the cupboard, packed all my gear in it, and a teddy bear. And I went and stayed with a friend. And I turned up at school the next day, and I said, I'm just coming to tell you. And they said, you can't do that. And I went, well, actually, yes, I can, because I'm old enough. And they said, but you haven't done any vacations. And I went, okay.
See you later.
I went.
So where did you go?
I stayed with a friend for a couple of weeks. I already had a Saturday job, Debenhams, and back in the day it was so easy to turn around and say, well, can I work full time? They just converted it to a full-time job, so straight away I was employed. I had somewhere to live.
Wow, so money in your pocket.
So I just became an adult overnight, and I managed fine, and I went on to learn when I wanted to learn. So I eventually went into an office and did some law, which actually became my passion in life. But by the time I'd got to 24, I joined the Naval Reserves.
Okay.
And I already had a child at that point, and had, been married. And I found that they did something called distance learning. So you could take O-levels and A-levels, as they were called back then. And I suddenly thought, actually I want to do this.
So what was your job within the Navy? What were you doing for the Navy?
I started off as a communicator.
Okay.
So you know what that is. I finished up in 2010 because they got rid of a lot of communicators, so you could either change branch or leave. I changed branches. I joined a new branch called MTO, Maritime Trade Ops. You may or may not know about this, but basically we were based predominantly either at Norwood or in Dubai doing anti-piracy operations.
Okay.
So
Dubai sounds horrendous.
I wouldn't go there on holiday.
I say that tongue in cheek because I wouldn't go on holiday now, and I used to stop there quite a bit in and out of it.
Busman's holiday, and very when I worked there, being careful what I say now, but when I worked there, we didn't work in anywhere, so we had our own setup, some laptops, we didn't wear uniform, and we did our own thing.
Okay.
They now wear uniform, and they are now based inside the embassy, which gives them a great deal more security.
I'm sure it does, yeah. We'll get onto a couple of
which we didn't
later.
have. But the worst bit about Dubai was, you're going out there and it's June and it's like 40 degrees and it's boiling, and you pack accordingly because you don't have to take. So you pack all this lovely summer stuff, and then you're there 2 days and you're straight down the Dubai Mall, down to Invertooten, because you need to go and buy winter gear. You need socks and jeans and hoodies and stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at you like I'm mad, and I'm going, it's hot there. Which means the boys in the apartment have got the air conditioning on full whack.
Right up, yeah.
And I'm sitting, I'm blue. So I had to go and buy loads of clothes just to keep warm. But yeah, interesting times. But I did all my learning. So I didn't learn at school. I did all my learning when I wanted to learn. So I took my law degree.
Okay, so yeah, tell me a little bit about this
stuff.
law degree stuff that you did. And you did that sort of like dovetailing while you were a reservist, yeah? So tell us about the law degree. Why the law?
I worked for a law office from 1976, and I was secretary, just doing secretary stuff. And I think I was doing conveyancing, which is buying and selling houses and stuff. But at some point, one of the partners of this Plymouth firm had asked me to go. Now you're talking no internet, no emails, not even fax machines.
Yeah.
So everything's on paper, and he'd asked me to go to the basement to retrieve like 2 or 3 files, which meant I had to look through them to find out I had the right ones. And everything's kind of catalogued, and I sat there in this dusty little room in Plymouth City Centre, and the guy was at the time Director of Public Prosecutions.
Okay.
And I'm reading this file, and I'm totally intrigued because it's a criminal file.
Yeah.
And then I get the next one, and I'm reading it, and what should have taken about 10 minutes, about 2 or 3 hours. Someone came to find me. I lost my soul. I just thought, that's where I want to be. I then went off eventually, and I worked for an amazing Plymouth solicitor called Tony Daniel.
Yeah.
Who was incredible, and after a run-in with the police, he only did criminal defence work, so this was before Crown Prosecution Service came in. And Tony basically kind of taught me everything I knew. He was brilliant. Not only that, he taught me to spell. My main bugbear is when you see people spell licence and licence, and one is with a C and one is with an S, and I'm like, or practice and practice like a solicitor's practice.
Yeah.
So you can practice the law with an S in your law practice with the C. And you have a licence to run a pub, but you were on licensed premises with an S. And Tony taught us this. He was a stickler for just so. So when I say he taught us everything, he did, but he was amazing. And I have so many Dixon stories from my time working in the law, and eventually I stopped working for him in 1987 because something happened to my sister, and it made me want to back away from the law for a bit, but it never really left me.
What happened to your sister?
She went on holiday to Australia because she was little when she came back. When we came back, she couldn't remember it, and she went on holiday to Australia with another nurse friend, because Susan was a nurse up in the Royal Free in London.
Okay.
And she went on holiday, and she was down in Albany, and she wasn't supposed to be there because her and Jill were going to move on to somewhere else. But they stayed because there was some...
Hey Sainsbury's, how can I finish Christmas dinner with a big bang?
I'd suggest our Taste the Difference Cheesemonger selection, made up of 5 artisan cheeses. Or there's always the extravagant Christmas Carol Mel and Brownie Cheesecake. Sound good, BFG?
Music to my ginormous ears. Looking for a dreamy dessert to follow Christmas dinner? Ask Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's, good food for all of us.
Subject to availability in selected stores and online. Excludes locals. Cheesecake from 20th of December while stocks last.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Looking to start a side hustle or become your own boss? Do it with Shopify. Whether you're selling succulents or stilettos, Shopify has the industry-leading tools to help you create, control, and grow your own business. So get serious about selling and get Shopify today. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.co.uk/special offer.
This is like a backpacking type, or they just
Yeah, sort of. They were going to spend like 6 months a year over there, sort of going, working their way around, but doing work while they were there.
Okay.
And yeah, so there was some big soccer match or something. And so they decided to stay, and that was the only reason they were there. But basically, she was doing some work in a bar, and she had turned up on Sunday afternoon, so not talking dark alleys and stuff like this. Sunday afternoon about 3 o'clock, and she's sitting on a beer barrel waiting for the doors to open. And some bloke came up and asked her the time, and as she looked, he abducted her, and he kept her for a couple of days, and she did not have a good time, obviously, and he then murdered her after he'd raped her. So he stabbed her 21 times.
21 times? That's
Follow
incredible.
831 for 7 miles.
And did you know she'd been abducted for this first 2 days? Was there a ransom note, or was there was there a point to it?
There was no point to it. The guy was on parole, so he had been sentenced 4 years earlier to 9 years in prison for 3 rapes. And so he did 9. He was supposed to do 9 years, and the Home Office Minister of Australia at the time, a chap called Muntz, he decided that Darren Osborne was, fit well to be walking the streets.
Wow,
and he let him out, and I don't know where he was being held, but he was let out, and he attacked a girl in Queensland.
So was he on the run type thing?
Yeah, so in Australia there's 7 states, and if you commit a crime in one but are picked up in another state, you can't be shipped across the border to stand trial for what you've done in another state. So he did a very similar thing to a girl called Sherry Davies in Queensland. He abducted her from an underground car park, and he left her for dead. He slit Sherry's throat and he left her for dead. She survived all the trauma and everything. She survived.
Yeah.
Her family are my family. Me and her family have this thing. We see them all the time.
Yeah.
So Sherry spent a long time in ICU. He went on the run from that. My understanding is from the police officers was he came to WA, to West Australia, and he groped a woman in McDonald's and did a couple of other sort of, I'm not going to say minor things because they're all quite major, but he did other things that were minor in comparison, but not minor to those women.
Other sexually orientated offences.
Yeah.
You're right, there's no such thing as a minor sexually orientated offence.
No.
Not at all.
And then, so he came across Susan, and and that was it. And then he dumped her in an underground car park, a Coles car park in Albany.
So did you get a call about this when they found the body? Did you go down and help sort this?
I know more about it than most of my family because I went out a few years later.
Yeah.
And I was actually stroke driven around the whole scene, and I was filled in with lots and lots of details.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff which my parents didn't know, but basically I remember it was a Monday. Oh, it was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day, 1987, because my mum always made the point of I got this news on Mother's Day. So I got a phone call from my dad saying, can you not go to Royal Naval Reserve tonight? He said, can you come up to South Brent? And I said, yeah, what's the matter? And he went, I'll tell you. So she just went through the list. As my granny died, as the horse died, as the dog died.
Yeah.
And he went, no, just get here. So I got there, and she was 23 years old. She's younger than my youngest daughter now. And my dad just turned around and said, Susan's dead and the police suspect foul play. And that's all we knew at that time.
That's all you've been told. So Australia said that, and that was
and
it.
like I said, I have to go back to the fact that there was no internet
Oh.
You know, fax machines were only just coming out. There was no email. So everything was so protracted. And I just said to my dad, no, this can't be right. And he said, well, they found her pink jacket and her passport. And I said, yes, she's lent her jacket to somebody. To me, it was not a possible thing. And anyway, turns out it was. They didn't catch him for about a month. He went on the run. Somebody was actually hiding him, as it transpired. But he went on the run. We got Susan's body home about 2-3 weeks later, and they actually caught him on the West Australia border trying to take a plane into South Australia, so then he wouldn't be picked up. Long shot is they caught him, they brought him back. He was sentenced to strict life imprisonment.
That means life. Is life there?
That's it. You're going to die in a box. And he did, because he was from prison with another really, really bad guy. And then they transferred him to a new high security prison called Casuarina, and they put him in there, and he tried to escape us another time and couldn't. And not long after that, he took his own life. So yeah, he's done, gone, you know, disappeared.
It's no consolation, but to you, but really, that's just.
He won't do it to anyone else.
No,
and the point was, he had done
every
it to
intention. If he had got out, he would have done it to somebody else for definite, isn't it?
But
so.
he's gone. He's nothing. And people say, like, don't you hate him? It's like, no. And they kind of, and it's because in order to hate somebody, you have to kind of put that level of force, emotion into it, or even think about him. He's just nothing on my radar.
Yeah.
He's just gone. He's done and dusted. My sister will always be 23. She will always be beautiful. She will never get taxed anymore. But unfortunately, she'll never know the power of social media and things. But do you know what? She's in a better place than the planet that we live on at the moment. So, you know, you've got to look at it that way.
Desperate planet sometimes. And that story just sort of like amplifies how horrible things can be. So you obviously that had an impact on your law career at the time. Did you pick up the law stuff again? Did you?
I did. I went back to it with a different solicitor, and but I couldn't get into criminal law because so much had changed, and a lot of solicitors weren't doing criminal law, just bureaucracy changes. So I still did litigation. I did matrimonial law and stuff, but at some point I just went,
you must have not, having done criminal law, you know, if that's where your heart laid, obviously from, you know, reading them first things that you read, like, wow, I love this, and you obviously really enjoyed it. To then be sort of like going, Mrs. Miggins is getting Mr. Miggins. You know what I mean? That sort of thing just becomes mundane, boring, and I don't blame you for.
Yeah. No, if I'd stayed, I would have gone on and become a barrister. So, but the place that I went to, I ended up taking my law degree and everything. I actually took my exam while I was in my bed, high as a kite on morphine. So, and I was one of only 2 people in the country that year to get distinction.
You just said you'd done it in your bed, high as a kite on morphine. Now, I'm assuming you weren't a drug addict. Why are you in your bed on morphine?
So my exam was I've been studying for 2 years. I had a motorbike accident in March 2003 at 5 miles an hour, and some old bloke
what kind of bike did you have?
Kawasaki ZZR 600.
Nice bike. No,
Yeah,
nice bike. Lovely
really
bike.
cool bike.
Yeah,
It was my bike, but I was
colour
peeing
was
on it. Red. It's beautiful. She purred. Beautiful bike. Husband was on the front and driving, and I was on the back, and basically little old guy came out in his mobility car and 5 miles an hour, and that was it. Hubby went underneath. He broke a toe. Sorry, don't mean to diss that, but just I took an early flying lesson.
Hubby's claiming the accident here. You ain't having that. So what did you done your back?
I took an early flying lesson across to the other side of the road and landed, luckily, just in front of a really nice lorry driver who decided that's not right, and decided to stop his lorry.
Okay.
And he literally stopped about 4 inches from me. And all I remember is like looking up and just seeing this man looking down, and his face was white. But yeah, so I had I had my back fixed in 2005. It had broken in 2 places and it kept trapping the spinal cord. So I could walk and stuff, but sometimes I couldn't move.
So
and
just
stuff.
give up, it was just boom, and
I just literally, you'd kind of go, oh, my legs won't work.
Walking walks, walking stops.
But they fixed it. A brilliant surgeon up in Exeter fixed the back, and 9 days later I came out the hospital, and you have to come home in an ambulance because you have to be flat. And I was offered by the Law Society to delay my exams, which I think were at the end of October, November, or whatever.
Okay.
And I went, no, I might not ever do them. If I don't do them now, I have to do it. And the Law Society sent an invigilator down, so it's 2 days worth of exams. And she just literally sat in my bedroom while the first exam and the second exam and the third exam were on. So she sat there for 2 days, and when I needed to get out and just kind of gently bend and do stuff like this, and like I said, high as a kite on morphine. Heartily recommended exam times. And it was brilliant. Did it, and that was it. And I think I was in New Zealand when my friend phoned and said, there's some mail here from the Law Society, and I went, open it. I said, it's my marks. And she opened it. And I had to wait until May the following year, 2006, for the Law Society Gazette to come out, and there it was, 2 names for the whole year, 2 names.
A31.
So I was really chuffed with myself.
Yeah, no, well done. So did you then go back into the business and do some stuff, or did you sort of like walk away from it and go, right,
I was still doing litigation,
for 3 miles.
but I only did it for a little bit longer, because that would have been because then I went to city centre management. I went to this thing called business improvement districts, and it's where private limited companies working with councils will go and run an area. Maidenhead will have one, Slough will have one, and they will run an area on behalf of the businesses, and the businesses will pay a little bit equivalent of their business rates, and they'll pay into a pot to run that company. That company will have to do certain things. I mean, certainly in Plymouth it was better marketing, better promotion, better events, better cleanliness, better security.
Okay, so it's a bit of a community.
And if you get,
business.
If you can promote your area internationally and all this kind of stuff, then technically the more people you bring into that area, because it's safe, because it's clean, etc. And then those people will spend in the shops.
The whole thing flourishes and the business grows. Yeah, so, I'll get this sort of. So, in conjunction with that, the Navy stuff, what was happening with the Navy stuff now? Were you sort of like...
So I carried on being a reservist until 96. And around a few years before that, the Navy, and I think maybe the Army and the RAF as well, they'd all had this massive cost-cutting exercise.
That's right, there was redundancies.
Yeah,
and
redundancies
stuff,
all over the place. And they chopped middle management.
Yeah.
And what happened was they didn't think it through, because they had all these people coming through, all the newbies, the trainees, the recruits, whatever they're called, and they had nobody to train them. So what they did was they went out to...
I mean, basically what they did was they culled their middle management, didn't they? So they had exactly what you said. They had nobody to train.
They went out to the reservists and said, have you got anybody of this rank or rate of this particular branch that can come and backfill the gaps that we've just made in the Navy? And a lot of people just went, oh, thanks very much. It's pensionable, because at this time, the reserves, no pension or anything. So suddenly you are full-time regular, pension, dental, medicals, the whole kit and caboodle. And it was great, so I went full-time, and I had some amazing jobs.
What was your, come on, let's do some of the jobs. What were your jobs? Come on, I want to know.
I started off working in my own reserve unit as permanent staff, because the guy that was head of the staff was due to leave, and they didn't have anyone to take his place. So I did that, which was a nice little jump in, because it was working with people that I already knew. And at some point somebody was coming to do that job, and something came available at HMS Raleigh, which is where all the new baby ones arrive. So I went over there and was training instructor, administrator for baby recruits. So up on Dartmoor every 2 weeks with them, just teaching them everything. So I did that for about 8 months. I met my future husband there. I also took my past husband and put him in there. That's another story.
Yeah. You can go there if you want to or not, I don't mind.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, so I did that. And then what was really interesting was when that job was coming to an end, the guy that was in charge of filling the vacant posts and things in Raleigh
After a quarter of a mile, cross
said,
the roundabout and take
I
the
don't want to let you go, you're really good,
831.
but I kind of don't have anything here for you at Raleigh apart from one job which has never been done by a woman before. So I'm kind of like, okay, what is it? And so you will know this. It's so the ones that get sick or injured or whatever in training come out of their respective squads, divisions, whatever people want to call them, and they're held in a class, and they will do various types of rehab depending on their injury or sickness, and they will be prepared to be slotted back in at the point at which they came out, albeit with a different divisional squad. And he said it's a tough role because the PVR rate, pre-voluntary release rate, PVR rate, is 54%. And like I said, he said, we've never had a woman do it because like maybe it's mothering and we know you're a mother, so just... And I really had to think long and hard about it because I really wanted to stay, because obviously I'd met this guy and he was going to be my husband, and I didn't want to go, but I didn't know if I wanted this job. It was just... Anyway, in the end, I said I'll take it. It is probably the best job I ever had in the Navy.
Really? Okay, so you enjoyed that?
PVR rate went from 54% to 0.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really proud about that.
What did you do that was different then? Just the way you dealt with people?
I communicated.
Okay.
I did not have a desire to stand 2 centimetres from their nose and scream in their face and shout obscenities at them.
Yeah.
I spoke to them like human beings. They had come to join up. They were prepared to put their lives on the line for every man and dog out on the street.
Yeah, they didn't need the grief. Yeah.
Equally, don't let them get away with anything. And from that, I got a lot of respect. But it was a two-way thing. It went back.
Go left on the roundabout.
I had an amazing bunch of people. I mean, when I inherited that day one, I think I had 6 or 8 guys who were in various forms of recovering from meningitis, because there'd been an outbreak of meningitis. I had a lovely lad who was due to pass out on the Friday. He'd done his training. He was due to pass out on the Friday, and he had been out with his parents and other people on the Thursday night, and he got leathered. On the Friday morning, when he was supposed to be passing out and leaving, he woke up in bed, still fully clothed, still with his shoes on, covered in damp, muddy grass and stuff, but hurting because bones were hurting and stuff. Long story short, nobody knew what happened to him. People started piecing it together. He had gone out to the balcony. Now, bearing in mind he's drunk, so he's nice and floppy, and it had rained. I have to say that's really important.
Yeah, go on.
He had gone out to the balcony of his 3rd floor block for a cigarette. He had leaned over. Now think Roadrunner cartoons. He had leaned over, he had fallen over the balcony, and the guys that were doing the investigation only know this because they found an imprint of a body on the grass, which completely fitted his measurements.
Wow.
And but because he was drunk and the ground was wet, he had damaged himself, but he hadn't broken anything. So he was one of the ones that I had with me for about 3 weeks until he was healed, and then we put him in and put him back.
Yeah, did you manage to get him through a passing out break without passing out?
Things changed after that. The passing out things with parents didn't happen then until I think the Wednesdays, so they kind of gave themselves a couple of days
a little
grace.
bit of a buffer.
Yeah. But it was a fantastic job, and there was some really motivated people, and I just did rehab with them every morning, which was great for me.
What rank were you then?
I was a chief.
Chief, which is equivalent in the army, because I I don't understand naval.
Do you have sergeants, then staff sergeants, and then
W1, W02, W01?
Yeah, so we only have WOs at the moment, so we don't have 2s and 1s. So it would be
in between the WO and the sergeant.
Yeah, your staff sergeant.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. So yeah, brilliant job. And then I stayed at Raleigh and did another job whereby it was an income generating project, and it was just to see could we make something called Foundation Modern Apprenticeships happen.
Okay.
And we trialled it with the logistic recruits, the ones, the chefs, the stewards, the writers, that kind of thing. And basically the Navy were already running something called Key Skills for newbies, and it was just to do this other thing to run alongside. More ticks in the boxes they had to do, more evidence they had to produce. But if they actually did the exam at the end and passed, it meant £1,000 given to the Navy for that person. Well, when you add up, you're taking about 100 recruits a week for maybe 40 weeks a year. You'll lose some, so let's say 80 recruits a week for maybe 40 weeks a year because you don't bring them in leave period, and they all pass. That is a shed full of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of dough. That's
shed
serious.
Full of money for the Navy. So, yeah.
So, you went through your naval career. How did you end up coming? So, what brought that about, the Help for Heroes stuff?
I was running my own events business 2014 to 2016. I had finished working in the bids, the city centre stuff. Didn't really know what to do. Didn't want to do that anymore, so I just set up my own events business.
Okay. Events as in what sort of events?
Any sort of events. Events with sports teams, family fun days out, sort of in the area, running events for a couple of bids up at Weymouth and stuff like that. So basically anything that needed organising and a good event putting on, that was what I could do. Cool. So, and I was doing one of those, bumped into a guy who was the auditor at HMS Raleigh, and we were just having a chat, and he walks with a stick and stuff, and he knew by that point I was suffering quite badly limbs wise, and he said, "Oh, you need to get down to Help for Heroes." And I said, "I can't, Debs, because..." Is
this still due to this motorbike accident? Or?
Yeah, and the fact that I'd had quite severe osteoarthritis set on. I mean, just like, that's the shape of my fingers.
Okay.
And my hands don't work. So, and I've actually had the middle part of that bit amputated. So, and they just put the back on with the screw. So the middle bit that's not even a knuckle. That's a screw head.
Just cosmetic.
Yeah. Just sticking a fingernail back on. But no, so he just said, like, well, you can use Help for Heroes. And I said, I can't. I didn't do Afghan. And that was the preconception I think that people still have today.
It's one of the things I'm trying to spread the word on, that it doesn't necessarily have to have been Afghan or Iraq, because a lot of people said that.
I was going to say Iraq, you know, all these things, people think it's, you can only go if you've been in either there or in some other field of operation, some other theatre of operation. And he said, no, you can go down. There's a hydrotherapy pool there.
After a quarter of a
I
mile,
went down.
cross the roundabout, and
she was
take
brilliant.
the
There was a
second
girl
exit,
who just
A31.
needed to take basic information from me. She was obviously very, very good at her job, because I went there wanting to use a hydrotherapy pool and the pool if I could. I had no other great asks from them. She asked right questions. What she got within 30 minutes was an absolutely snotty, sobbing mess, just sitting there, absolutely sobbing. And she just turned around, she looked at me and she said, we need to get you some help. And that was how it started. I didn't feel like I belonged at first, because you have to jump through various hoops, which I don't think you have to do now. So you have to show that you've got something, and it's as a result of military service. And I didn't know that I could say this. I was predominantly a reservist, then a naval person. I didn't have the knowledge that some people had. They sent a chap along, and he filled out a form, put in a claim for X, Y and Z, and the easiest bit that the MOD could tick off and turn around and say, yeah, this is down to us, they did. Which was the deafness for all the diving and the swimming training and stuff I'd done with recruits. So I wear hearing aids and stuff. So can't hear if I take them out. So whilst this was the more serious stuff, what was going on with the bones was the more serious stuff, the fact that they had said, yes, we'll take the ears, it meant I got the box ticks. It meant I could belong to Help for Heroes.
Okay.
It meant then they could shovel anything they could at me for help. And they were amazing. I mean, I have to confess, I'd go the first like week or two and I'd look around and there would be people with a bit missing here and legs missing there and whatever, and I didn't know where to put myself, and I felt very fraudulent because in my head these people had all been and done something amazing and given a lot of themselves physically and bits-wise.
I know, I've talked to a few people like this. It doesn't mean to say that what is happening to you is right. You know what I mean?
No.
So, the fraudulent thing, I don't think you can. I get where you feel that from.
Yeah,
but it's not.
It's where it comes from initially. After 3-4 weeks, I was just like, I didn't notice the bits missing. These were just now people. This was almost like being back in service. This was just your buddies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody one day, and we were talking about prosthetics and stuff. And I said, just like, I feel so bad for you because you're like that. And this was the person that put it in perspective. And they turned around and said, why? I'm better off than you. And I said, but you're not. You've got 2 prosthetic limbs. And they said, yeah, but look, they work and they don't hurt. And I can do anything that you can do, and I can do it better. And I went, okay. And they said, are you in pain now? And I went, yes. And they said, does it work properly? And I went, no. And they said, do you have to have somebody do things for you? And I went, yeah. And they said, so who's better off?
Cross the roundabout
and that put it in perspective. So I didn't feel quite so bad then, and just through my association with H for H, they've done a lot in teaching me that I have a value, that I gave a lot, and that I was entitled to their help, and because of that, and like you wanting to spread the word to people and say, this is not just for, you know, blah blah blah, this is for other people. I got very passionate about it, and I would do anything I could to help them and stuff. And at some point somebody said, would you like to be an ambassador, but we need to do X, Y and Z and interview and stuff. And I said, absolutely. And I think that happened a few months before COVID, and then COVID came. So as ambassadors going out, I think I got like an opportunity to go out and speak to a junior school once, and a couple of other small things, but everything sort of ground to a halt in the whole charity industry.
Yeah,
COVID stopped everything.
Stopped a lot of stuff.
But I will bang the drum for people to accept help if it's there, or to signpost them to help in other directions.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's
gone are the days when you would go to one charity and say, I need a wheelchair, or I need this piece of kit or that piece of kit, because COVID hit all charities really badly. But in terms of veterans charities, they were hit equally badly. And if you want a £20,000 or £30,000 wheelchair, I don't know if that's what they cost, but if you want, that's a big hit for any charity to take.
Yeah.
And what I like very much now is you may approach one, and hypothetically we'll say Help for Heroes, and they will talk to that person, and they will see what service they belong to. So if they were in the Marines, Army, whatever, and then they will say, well, okay, let's look at this and let's work with other charities. So they might go to RNRMA because of the Marines connection. They might also go to PLASMA, the Limbless Ex-Servicemen's Association.
Yeah.
So suddenly now you've got, and they might go to the RBL. So suddenly now you've got 4 charities involved with one person. So maybe they could each find 5,000 instead of one charity having to try and find 20,000.
Okay, so it's just basically
it's a really good
spreading
umbrella way of working.
Spreading the load, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. You've been quite outspoken about PTSD and stuff like that. I've seen a couple of interviews. You did an interview on television about people promoting PTSD and the way they promote it. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about your feelings on PTSD?
Yeah, we had a thing, we were all talking about PTSD and how the media portray it. I think this was like last year with a friend of yours, I understand.
Who's that?
Ross Kemp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the story.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, we did it in Marlow, and it was about, I was the only girl and there were some guys, and it was what people, the general public, if you like, who have no military connection, think people with PTSD look like or act like. And I think if you talk to most of them, they'll say, oh, they jump, there's a loud bang, they drink a lot, they're quite scrappy, and they commit, or they want to always commit suicide, or they, drink drugs and all this kind of stuff. And our message was really kind of, no, you can have it, you can have bad stuff happen to you, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be an alcoholic junkie who goes around bashing his wife or their husband or this, that, and that. We can be quite functional, normal
Yeah, I think that's
people.
because that's what the media want it to be.
It's sensationalist. It's not going to sell movies or anything if they're not. One of my big ones, Michelle Keegan played, I think it was an Our Girl, and she played the part of a girl who'd lost her fiance and quite rightly was upset. But 2 weeks later she was like, everything's fine and hunky-dory. So yeah, have a great big PTSD moment, but 2 weeks later, it doesn't go away in 2 weeks. And the way, I think it's worse the way they portray blokes. It was really, my whole message I think we were trying to say was, we can have it, and yes, sometimes it comes back to bite you in the bum and sort of smack you a bit between the eyes. Still doesn't turn me into a junkie or an alcoholic
it's manageable.
I might go away, and I don't cry very often, but I might have a session where I just want to go away, sit in a corner and sob my heart out. Or I might have a whole series of bad dreams, and those are the ones that really have hit me worse than anything else. But it doesn't mean I take it out onto the street and have to demonstrate it to everybody. People just, the couple of the guys that I was talking to, they told they'd been turned down for life insurance. One had been out on a date with a woman, and coming up to the second date, he had said to her he had PTSD. And she came back a couple of days later and went, no, I don't want to. She'd had a really lovely time, date one.
Yeah.
Same bloke.
I think there's a certain amount of ignorance around that, and there's still a stigma about mental health in general, isn't there? Which, I'm trying extremely hard to break those barriers down. Not only says that people can understand it to help treat it, but that just says that people can talk about it, raise that awareness, and we can actually get some help in the areas where it's needed.
I don't know that passionate's the right word. I totally 100% agree with you on that one. My daughter was ill as a teenager, and I always thought that it might be hormone related, but I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly proud now because she's come out the other side. We didn't think she'd make it to 16. We didn't think she'd make it to 17, truthfully. She is now 27. She was a COVID scientist, and she's done that for several years, 3 years, and she's now gone across into a different side of blood science. But she was so ill at 16, and the way she was treated, I found it awful. And I always said, it's the difference between a hidden injury and a seeable injury. So if a kid in her school had a broken leg, was on crutches, and walked down the corridor, people would open the door and be nice as pie. They can see it, they can react. If a kid has a mental injury which necessitates them just going off on one and ended up in hospital, kids are all just like, that's weird, she's weird, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you can drill that down again into hidden illnesses. If a kid has got, let's say, leukemia or cancer, they're not necessarily visible illnesses. But if other children know a child has leukemia or has a heart disease and is weak or something, again, the kindness comes out.
Yeah, allowances will be made.
Other invisible illness, mental injury. My daughter had dissociative disorder.